We do welcome you back to yet again another session of the Breakfast Meeting. My name, once again, is Isabella Tugume. This morning, our focus is mainly on the youth and the day that is slated for the youth that is happening this weekend. Now, of course, this second session is looking at the Youth Equality Center that is launching its second International Youth Day Marathon under the theme Safe Spaces for the Youth. Now, of course, I'm joined by Ali Kavidi, who is the team leader, Youth Equality Center, and Joanne Amanda Banura, who is the team leader at Uya. Okay, that I can't pronounce. But yes, she's a team leader with one of those. And we will be looking at this particular run, also highlighting the challenges that the youth encounter and how best we can go about it. Thank you so much for joining us, Joanne.
Thank you so much
for joining us.
Pleasure.
Please help us understand which organization is this?
Okay. UAFPA is the Uganda Youth Alliance for Family Planning and Adolescent Health.
All right, thank you so much.
Right.
Now, we want to understand this year's theme is Safe Spaces for the Youth. Why are you focusing on creating safe spaces?
Thank you so much, Isabella. In fact, for so many years we've been actually commemorating the International Youth Day. There is so much that we can actually connect with this year's particular theme, safe spaces for the youth. It's a theme that was actually put forward by the UN, which is actually at the aim of directing, especially in terms of pushing for the International Youth Day celebrations. As you're aware that we've been actually commemorating since the day was actually, earmarked in 1999, and every year there are different themes. So for us this year to focus on safe spaces, it gives us the opportunity to really understand what are safe spaces for the youth. We're talking about working environment, for example, where you're working, for example. Is it really safe for the young people to be there? We're talking about spaces where young people are, like in camping, is where the national celebrations are going to be taking place. How safe is it? We're also talking about, when talking about sexual reproductive health, we've been at the center of advocating for safe spaces, for youth-friendly corners that I have to walk through maybe a health facility. Is it really safe for me as a young person? So this is really a cross-cutting theme that actually really gives us the opportunity to bring out issues about safety. And also at this particular time, we are actually going to be commemorating this day, but there are so many unanswered questions about girls that have been kidnapped. How safe are our cities? How safe are our communities, our families? Many girls have been abused, many girls. So there is a lot that we need to embrace, especially using this theme to be able to put the messages across.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Kavidi. Now, allow us look at the situation, Banura. What is the current situation of youth and adolescent sexual reproductive health and rights in the country?
Just picking off from where he left off, young people, especially girls, are being defiled, they're being kidnapped. The young girls who are starting up their menstruation are being laughed at by boys. So the current situation, and if you follow the Uganda Demographic Health Survey of 2016, the teenage pregnancy rates of our country have increased instead of reducing. From 2011, it was at 24%. And now we're at 25%. And the recent PMA 2020 indicates that it's now at 26, so we are waiting for the next UDHS to tell us how far we are. If you look at areas like Yumbe, the teenage pregnancy rate is at 30%, more than the one of the national rates. If you look at areas like Omoro, it's at 28%, Butaleja, it's just worse. So the situation of adolescent sexual reproductive health and rights in Uganda is, instead of improving, we can say, our adolescents really need help, and need help like really, really badly. You look at the drug abuse rates are also increasing. Boys are into drugs, and the adult allies are not even aware of that. And you find that the reason as to why these teenage pregnancy rates are going high, it's also contributing from the boys being addicted to drugs. So the situation is really alarming, and we need to really act fast. We need to tackle the issues right from the root cause, and be able to improve the situation.
All right, so now let's look at the challenges that the youth encounter in accessing sexual reproductive health services, information as well. How bad do you think it is?
Okay. A while back, I think when I was in my primary school, it could have been better. Then over time, it
just keeps on worsening.
it keeps worsening. And you find that these days, we used to have PSA groups, clubs in schools. We used to have Straight Talk Visit Schools. We used to have lots of organizations come into schools regularly, and you know, senior women teachers were so friendly. And young people, I think by that time, had friends they could talk to and open up to. But today, it's different. It's a different story. You find like a young person, a young girl, has a problem, even just simple menstruation, and they want maybe to ask how do I go about this, how many days, and what about the cramps and all that, and you find there's no one she can really open up to. And then the only friends that she could have or she opens up to are going to give her wrong advice. Like, if you want to get saved from the cramps, go and have sex, and you won't have the cramps, then you know, you will be saved from that. So the service or information access today is find the information is there. We have the televisions, we have the radios, the information we passed on, but how to localize that and internalize it by an individual, it's not yet there. We're not yet there.
So you think the challenges with the service providers lately, because you pointed out something, and I actually do agree with you on the fact that times have changed, as opposed to students being more aware, even with the fact that we live in an era where information is everywhere, they seem to be oblivious to the challenges they face.
We also have the aspect of, you know, elders. You know, you have to follow culture, tradition. So you find that young people today are so held back, reserved. Instead of being outspoken, like speak up and be free to talk about, because it's your body, it's your life. You find that they always hold back. And now the senior women teachers in school look at girls like co-wives. Like, you'll find a girl with a stained dress, and instead of a senior woman teacher like pulling her clothes and then talk to her nicely like a mother, a sister, a friend, be like, you look at you, you're a big girl and you can't really take her, you just look like that attitude. And then you come to the health center, a girl comes and she's crying, she really, she's in like desperate and depressed, and you like, you find this service provider saying, if you can't talk up, if you can't like really say what you want, speak up and say what is wrong with you, then just move out of here, go away. So that kind of attitude towards a young person, you know, they're that sensitive stage. They are the ones who need attention, and you know, we are different characters, everyone needs attention in a different way. So if you do not understand a person, or you first sit down and really talk to the person, give them time, there are these kind of people, young girls we've encountered and cases who you can really sit for 30 minutes, an hour, and you're trying to get something out of them, and they are quiet. But they need help. You see they have a problem, but getting it out, they just can't speak up until you give them time.
Rather depressing situation. But now let's look at the role of the youth in improving their health and the services provided of the citizens.
Thank you so much, Isabella. I think the youth actually have a bigger role, because just like actually Amanda is saying, we are faced with a number of challenges. But there's no way we can actually improve the situation when there's no input from the young people. In fact, there's nothing for us without us. And the problem that we usually make, that sometimes most of these programs that are targeting the youth are not, the youth themselves are not involved. That's why you find that most times these programs actually are failing. So for us to be able to really get involved, we have to be part of the designs of these programs as number one. We also have to be involved at every stage of implementation of these programs, so that's when we can actually be in position to monitor these programs, ask for demand for accountability, follow the process throughout, as opposed to where programs are designed in boardrooms and then they bring young people to be able to participate. In fact, we just end up being participated other than actually, for us, meaningfully participate in the process. So the youth have actually a bigger mandate. Maybe it's also to add on what my colleague Amanda talked about in terms of the challenges, there's also an aspect of the legal environment, the legal framework in this country in supporting some of the programs like, you know, the health, you know, situation in the country. You find that several policies either they're under review, either some others actually under consultation for so many years. We've been actually talking about the school health policy, for example. At what stage are we right now? The adolescent, health policy.
Okay.
And these are the policies that should be guiding actors in terms of giving information and services to the intended beneficiaries, the youth. But you find that, in fact, in our analysis, we are wondering what, for example, government and other service providers are using to reach out to the youth. Because it's just recently that the sexuality framework was actually approved. But even right now, as we are seated here discussing these issues, there's a lot of backlash, there's a lot around the sexuality, framework. So it points out to the deeper situation that we are confronted with.
All right.
And above all, many girls are suffering in silence. Teenage pregnancy, like she has actually given us, is really alarming.
The statistics are actually very alarming. But now let's look at how is the Youth Equality Center and the Right Here, Right Now program partners contributing to the health and well-being of the youth in the country?
Now, for us, what we're actually doing, we're trying to ensure that we work with government and also try to sort of engage government that some of the critical policies are actually approved, they're reviewed, approved, and passed. So that actors, whether UAFPA, whether Youth Equality Center, we can actually have that enabling environment reach out. I mentioned about the school health policy. Right now, we've been told is actually almost at a sign-off stage, but we are not even sure when it's going to be, launched and passed. But we are trying to work with government to ensure that such policies and adolescent, health policy are, laid on table. But even beyond that, we are engaging other stakeholders to build some sort of public support for some of the work that we're actually doing. Just like I said, when you talk about very sensitive sexual reproductive health issues, because of the societal outlook, because of the environment and patriarchal environment and system that we've actually been brought forward, that some of us to talk about these issues is considered a taboo. You cannot discuss sex in your family or with your parents. In fact, parents do not even have the opportunity to speak to their children about these issues. Children or the young people in this aspect actually have to either visit Sengas or to be able to access this information. So we are doing a lot to ensure that that environment actually is enabling that young people can be able to seek for information without being stigmatized, without being that kind of stigma. But also, most importantly, there are certain, I think it's also high time that we also talked about really like safe abortion, for example, as a right, so that
that conversation is a very complex one.
It's a very but of course I'm not saying that. Okay, what I'm trying to say is that we need to really understand the situation and then devise means of how to be able to
go about it.
So for as long as we keep hiding ourselves or hiding our heads in the sand, that alone will not solve the problem.
Oh, let me just from that point. Banura, do you agree with what he says in regards to the last clause he has pointed out? The fact that as a nation we should open the discussion, open the grounds to actually having safe abortion based on the fact that as Africans, we are a very conservative group of persons.
I will start from that point. As Africans, we're very conservative, and Uganda, we're more traditional. But then that does not save us, because we are surrounded by westernization, I could say. We're surrounded by lots of trends that are coming up, and there's no way we're going to run away from technology. We're not going to run away from development. And this is the country that is trying to move on to being the next developed country. So we cannot keep hiding our heads in the sand and then pretending that everything is okay. When he talked about safe abortions and creating an enabling environment for the young people, well, it's better like we tackle the situation from the root than to deal with the consequences later. Because the more we keep hiding away from abortions, they are really happening.
Whether we like it
Whether we like it or not. Girls are using hangers, the one you used to hang on clothes. They are using that to really terminate pregnancies. They are using cassava stems in the villages to terminate pregnancies. So why do we have to go through all that trauma and yet there is a safe way? Because whether you say, whether we have tradition, yes, we appreciate and we are so traditional and we believe in our cultures and all that. We do recognize that. But then we cannot run away from the fact that, of course, we are surrounded by situations that are way beyond us, way beyond our cultures. And we need to move with the trends. So we need to adopt every trend that comes on. Of course, how can you adopt technology and you say, okay, smartphones and all that, and you say you're leaving out the behavior change. That will come along with everything. So we need to go with the trends and see that we help the young people. I'll bring in the argument of menstruation. When our parents tell us, for us we used to use this and this, and but you look at their situation back at their time and the situation now, they're totally different.
Now, allow me from that particular point. Some will say that, as much as times have changed, the trends have definitely changed. The people, particularly our parents, believe that the fact that the trend has changed does not mean that some things should actually change. The same way, if a woman is, as much as times have changed, and yes, we have male chefs, but women should always be in the kitchen. That is the notion. So do you think that will apply in this regard?
No, I don't think. I would like to a little bit divert from that. Fine, yes, we should have those norms and cultures like, okay, women have to do this, yes. But at some point, when you look at our population today, you'll find that we have more female than men. And then we have more young people. We have like 78% of the population or more. And then you're not going to say, okay, girls stay in the kitchen. Even look at the rates of unemployment. Girls are the ones who are tempted so much. When you visit campuses, you even wonder in the night, you just give up and surrender. But that's the situation that is on the ground. That's what's happening. Girls need all the support they need. You find that they are the ones heading families. They're the ones who have children. They're the ones who are defiled, they are raped. And then the men, actually, you find that a man has more. You find they have concubines, and then they have the wife. You find a married man has like 4 children, and he's having like some side dishes out there. Those side dishes are adolescents. That's more surprising. They're adolescents, actually, young girls.
Yes. You make a very valid point.
So how are you going, if you're talking about culture, then also bring out the aspect of respect for men. Men have that respect. Okay, you have your family, stick to your wife. Why on earth are you going for an adolescent? Okay, if you're going for a side dish, go for someone older, but you find them on adolescents, on girls.
Point, because what you said, as much as we don't want to accept it, it is the reality.
Yeah.
Truth of the matter is, very many men that are married have little children for side projects. But why is it the case, though, Ali? Why do you go for small babies? Why? Children who cannot actually decide what right is from wrong. But then that is where men decide to go. Why can't you go for a woman who can say no?
I think it points out what actually earlier on I said. The societal outlook, which is male dominated, where culture has actually placed men at the center of all resources. The fact that they can actually control resources. We have over 80% of people who are involved in the agriculture sector are women. But those that have access to control of the returns from this sector are men. Most of them actually wake up, go drink, and then come and demand for what does not really belong to them. So it points out to the societal, outlook that is purely patriarchal, where resources are, So for us as actors, we're trying to sort of change that status quo. That, what, for us to be able to even talk about equality or, equity, we need to have such conversations like the ones that we're actually having, so that we can be able to change the mindset, to break those barriers that can actually be able to create, you know, a win-win situation for everyone. Because now if you to look at issues around, you know, decision making, you know, we need to empower women and girls so that they can actually be in position to decide, to have those leadership qualities, to be able to negotiate for safer sex, you know, because like largely in our African context, a woman cannot actually, you know, decide on, for example, the number of children they can actually have. But it points back to that.
But times have changed. I would like to think that you can actually decide.
If you watch NBS the news, the times are much as you want to believe that we actually look at stories that are emanating from our communities, and you wonder that are we still in those days? We're seeing stories coming out from the media where women are battered, where, you know, it's the situation actually it's even getting worse in my own, you know, interpret. There's a story I watched not so long ago, and a man actually cut off the wife's hands. You know, and that's just one of the so many. You know, so I think it's the system. That system is still, you know, solid, and it needs a lot of change agents like myself and other, you know, men out there. And I think maybe we need as many male change agents as possible to be able to, you know, to change the situation, because it's only until that you know, men are oriented on you know, the values about gender equality, what it means, you know, having a more, you know, a win-win situation. That's when they can actually be able to embrace, you know, the benefits, or to appreciate what the sort of conversation we're actually having, and that's when we can actually have more stronger, you know, communities.
All right. So now let's look at the impact of your advocacy on the campaign to improve youth and sexual reproductive health services to the people, in addition to creating safe spaces. Do you actually believe you've had an impact?
Absolutely, absolutely. We've actually made so many headways. When we talk about, you know, the recent passing of the sexuality education framework, it's been a result of several processes that civil society has actually, you know, participated in ensuring that we actually have such policies. We've also tried as much as possible to support information, you know, sharing. If you look about the statistics in terms of the youth-friendly spaces in this country, majority of these youth-friendly spaces actually are provided by civil society organizations or NGOs. Yeah, but we are trying not only to just advocate for those safe spaces, but we want them to sort of be integrated within the health system. That doesn't really have to be a youth-friendly. It points to training of health workers, that if a young person, for example, walked through a health facility, how am I able to attend to this young person without really either disclosing the information that I will be able to share with this person, without actually maybe questioning why they ask him, for example, condoms. You know, just like my colleague Amanda was actually saying, if a young person maybe goes to a health facility and maybe ask maybe for a very sensitive, let's say maybe sex-related, you know, issue, they will start, you, Amanda, I'm going to speak to your parent. That statement alone shuns many young people from accessing. So you can see that our effort have actually been aimed at ensuring that young people are able to access information without stigma, without discrimination, without, you know, that kind of weird sort of environment. So we are glad that we're actually making headways.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Amanda, is there a law or policy that protects and promotes youth, the youth sexual reproductive health rights as well in this country?
A law or policy? Not. I can say we have, for now, we have the National Sexuality Education Framework, which I can't say it's a law, but at least it's something that is going to guide many actors, including service providers, teachers, and all that, to all the people in that line, to help young people in accessing information. After the law, we don't have we're still having engagements on the school health policy, on the adolescent health policy, which we believe these are the policies that are actually going to be like laws to protect young people with their SRHR rights, rights and issues. So we can't say that we have a law in place. We have something that will guide us. Yes.
All right, thank you so much. Now, let us look at the actions. What actions do you think should be taken to create safe spaces for young people?
I think it's I would say it's a multi-sectoral sort of, conversation and approach that we need to really adopt. We need to sort of, if it's about, the health ministry, for example, we need to engage as many actors as possible, inclusive of even the civil, the media, the fact that we're having this conversation. We need to engage ministries, departments and agencies so that we can actually have many actions as possible. But it needs all stakeholders, even at the family level, the family protection unit at the police. So it's a more coordinated sort of process. So for us to be able to, get something, I think I would say the multi-sectoral sort of approach would be the best ideal. And many other actions, creating an environment and also ensuring that some of the policies that are in review, the school health policy,
SRHR guidelines.
Yes. All these, we need to ensure that they actually pass so that and then we implement. Because there is this notion that is always told about our policies. We usually craft very wonderful policies, but they're always implemented in different countries.
Yeah.
So we need that, to ensure that when these policies are passed, but also the young people are also involved in these processes, then we can actually ensure that they're implemented. If it means we need to also allocate budget to ensure that what we've actually committed to do, is well funded by all actors and inclusive of government.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kavili. Thank you to Amanda for coming and sharing with us your 2 cents on how the challenges that the youth are facing, particularly in accessing sexual reproductive health rights and services. Now, of course, this run will be scheduled to take place on the 11th.
Tomorrow,
Actually,
yes.
prior to the festival that is taking place. Now, however, thank you so much for joining us. It's really a pleasure to have you. Now, let's go to Parliament, where Parliament is holding its first seating of the first session of the National Youth Parliament. It is going to discuss the challenges that are affecting the youth and also how best the youth can be involved in the policy-making decisions that have eluded them for a really long time. Let us go to Parliament and listen in to that proceeding.